Hello, how are you? Welcome back to my library. It's time to wrap up all of the books that I read in July. July was a pretty good month for me, actually. I read quite a bit, which is surprising considering July was kind of a crazy month for me. It wasn't as busy as June was, but it was still pretty busy month. I'm definitely making the most of summer, so I'm very surprised that I was able to still read as much as I did. In terms of the quality of my books, it was quite varied. Everything from 2 stars to 5 stars, so there was a lot of range in there. But without further ado, let's get into the stats. So in July, I finished a total of 15 books, DNF'd 4, which gave me a grand total of 4,855 pages and 50 hours of audiobook listening. I once again read 0 books just physically. I listened to 7 books just over audio, 4 ebooks, and 4 books that were mixed media, so tandem reading between both the audiobook and the physical book. Moving on to the books, I'll start with my DNFs, starting with Cruel Delights. I don't even remember what this was. What was this book? Oh, this was the serial killer one that I started. I think I got to maybe chapter 4, I want to say, and that was a swift no from me. I've been wanting to try some like dark romance recently and try a new genre, and this one was just not the one for me. I did not like the male main character. He was very cringy and not a good time for me personally. So DNF'd that one. On a similar note, I DNF'd House of Crimson Hearts, which is a spicy sapphic vampire book. I love me some sapphic vampires, but this one, very similar to the last book, the characters were just very cringy and over the top and dramatic, and that is not my vibe personally. I DNF'd the Grim Reaper's Guide to Catching a Killer because this one was just not really my thing. I liked the concept, but I'm not a huge fan of murder mysteries, so this one just wasn't really working for me. I listened to, I think, about 25-ish% of it. I got a good chunk of the way through it. I just wasn't having a good time, so I cut my losses. And then finally, I'm very sad, but I DNF'd Blood of the Old Kings. This is the sequel to a book that I can't think of what it was, but it was a really good book. Unfortunately, I was not vibing with the sequel. I didn't get very far into it, but I just really had no desire to carry on with it. I might revisit it at some point in the future, but at least for right now, it was not interesting to me at all. I waited too long between book 1 and book 2, and I had no desire to go figure out what happened in book 1 in order to read book 2, so I just DNF'd that one. But again, I might revisit that one at some point in the future. Moving on to the books that I did finish, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of like 3 and 3.5 star books this month, and those ones I don't have a whole lot to say about, so I may just kind of gloss over those ones. But I'll start with the 2-star read that I had, which was Teddy Bears Never Die. I'm very sad about this one. I thought it was going to be so fun and ridiculous and over the top campy, and it was not that. It was very boring. There is indeed a living teddy bear in this book who helps this girl go on a murderous rampage, and somehow that plot was so boring, and I don't know how that happened, but it was not interesting whatsoever. I felt nothing for the characters. The main character is going through some pretty difficult things in this book, and I didn't care about any of it. I probably should have DNF'd this one, but I kept waiting for it to get better and to get more interesting and more action-packed, and it just never did. And actually, towards the end of it, it got really stupid. So didn't have a good time with this one personally. I gave 2.5 stars to Escape Velocity. It was fine. Also a murder mystery. I'm learning that I really don't like murder mysteries. They're really not my thing. I love them as movies, but as books, I think they're so boring. But it's a murder mystery set in space, and that sounded kind of cool to me. I recently read Floating Hotel by an author whose name I can't think of, but I'll put a picture up here, which I didn't like Floating Hotel, but I liked the concept of it, and Escape Velocity sounded pretty similar. It's also a murder mystery set in a space hotel, so I wanted to try this one to see if maybe it was just that book that I didn't like, but I also didn't like this one, so I think it's just the concept in general, not my thing personally. I liked some of the characters and the writing was fine. It was just the plot was very boring for me. I gave 3 stars to How to Get the Girl and Not Destroy the World by Marie Cardno. This is the 3rd book in the Monster Girlfriend series, which I had no idea was even a thing. I thought the series was a duology, and I finished it like 3 years ago, and then I just happened to see the cover for book 3 online somewhere, and I was like, pardon? I thought this one was fine. The concept in this series is that the one main character, the monster, she used to be part of this like all-consuming eldritch terror, but she broke off from it when she met the other main character because she fell in love with her. And she can like shapeshift her body into whatever form she wants, so she built herself a body that was at least kind of humanoid so that she could be with the main character, and shenanigans ensue from there. The first two books were hilarious and chaotic and fun and campy, and I loved them. And this third book was also that. It was very campy and fun, and I liked the idea of it, but I have a hard time with time loop stories. When they're done well, I think they're phenomenal, but when they're not, they just feel very repetitive and kind of annoying after a while, and that was the case with this book. It wasn't bad. I liked the characters in it, of course. I liked the relationship developments. I liked all that stuff to it. It was just the plot that was just kind of meh for me, but I thought the series ended off in a nice way, so at least there's that. I gave 3.5 stars to Happy Endings by Thien-Kim Lam. This one was read for a vlog I did where I was reading books that were set at an adult toy store as somebody who used to work at one. That vlog is up, so I'll link it down below if you want to see my more in-depth thoughts on that one. I loved this book in context of the theme of that vlog. I thought the setting of the sex toy store was incredible. I thought it was so well done. I loved the themes and the conversations that were had throughout the course of this book about sexual education and liberation and that kind of thing. It was fantastic for that. The romance, however, was not good for me. I did not like the romance in here. I thought it was very cringe. During literally all of the spicy scenes, my face was just like, the whole time. I was not having a good time with that. I liked the female main character, but the male main character was not for me. I'm also not a huge fan of second chance romance unless it's been like at least absolute minimum a decade since they broke up. I only like second chance when they were together when they were much younger and things just didn't work out because they were too young and they were in different places in their lives and that kind of thing, and then they reconnect much later in life when they are like established adults. But I don't like when the couple only broke up a handful of years ago, because in my opinion, if you broke up for a reason, and I don't think a few years is enough time to really work on the problems that you had that led you to break up in the first place. And I can't suspend my disbelief enough to actually enjoy a romance where that's how the romance is. This one was not for me in that sense, but I did like the concept in the rest of the book, so I'm settling on a 3.5 star for it. But yeah, more thoughts in the vlog down below. I also gave 3.5 stars to Defiant by Brynne and Sanderson, the last book in the Skyward series. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have much to say about this one. I kind of forget the entire thing. I honestly can't even think of how this book ended or how I felt about it at all. This whole book just wiped from my brain. Yeah, it's gone. I don't know. The details clearly did not stick, so maybe I should reevaluate that 3.5 star rating. I'm sure it was fine. It just clearly wasn't interesting enough to solidify in my brain at all. So I'm going to move on from that one. The last two 3.5 stars that I gave were a duology, and that was Spell on Wheels Volumes 1 and 2, which is a witchy comic series. The first book had been on my TBR since 2021. I believe this was my backlist pick of the month, and it was good. I liked it. I think I liked both of these books equally, but for different reasons. I liked the plot of book 2 better, but the characters in book 1 a lot better. Actually, the characters in book 2 really irritated me. So it's a group of 4. They're all really close friends. They're a coven. They're basically sisters. Or no, it's a group of 3, I think. Either way, in book 1, they're all very, very close-knit. But in book 2, for like no reason at all, 2 of them are really mean to the other one and like exclude her and make her feel like she's not really part of the group. And I just didn't really understand where that shift came from, and it was very strange. It just felt like drama for the sake of having some kind of internal conflict with the main characters, but really didn't feel like it was needed. But otherwise, these were pretty good, and I had an okay time with them. Moving on to my 4 stars. I gave 4 stars to A Sunny Place for Shady People by Mariana Enriquez. This was a horror short story collection. As with every anthology, there were of course a handful of ones that were not as strong as other ones, but for the most part, this was an excellent collection. I thought it was very well done. Some of the stories were actually really creepy. Definitely enjoyed this one. I read Our Share of Night earlier this year and also really enjoyed the writing, so this author is definitely one to watch for me. I also read Tourist Season by Brynne Weaver. This book was so fun. I loved this book. It was hilarious. It's not my usual genre, but my friend was reading this one and I wanted to check it out. Thought it'd be nice to try a new genre and see how I felt, and I am hooked. This one is a romance between two serial killers, and it was just hilarious. I loved it. Their banter was by far the best part of this book. They're just constantly like insulting each other and like just getting on each other's nerves, and it was so funny. But at the same time, they're both very supportive of each other, and their romance was just top tier. It was so good. I already have book 2 on hold through Libby, and I'm hoping to get to it very soon. I think it'll be a few weeks until I'm able to read it, so I at least don't have long to wait, and I'm very happy about that. Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I'm honestly a little sad about this one because I didn't love it nearly as much as I thought I would. This is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I loved Swordheart, which is set in the same world. I think I gave Swordheart a 4.5 star. I'm pretty sure it was very close to perfect. So I was hoping to love this book the same way, but I just didn't as much. I still really enjoyed it, but with this one, the beginning and the very end were fantastic, but everything in the middle was just kind of okay. It was honestly kind of boring, and I was very surprised by how little I cared for the plot. I loved the characters. They were definitely the best part. Again, with the banter, they were both hilarious together. So their personalities and the romance definitely kept me engaged, but the plot itself was not super interesting for me personally. I'm still absolutely going to continue on with the series because I want to read everything by this author, and I know that the rest of the series I'll probably love. It was just this one book happened to not be the most interesting for me, but that's more of a me problem than the book's fault. So it's fine. I still love the author. I gave 4 stars to A Draft for a Dragon by R.K. Ashwick, which is the third, I think, pretty sure third book in the Rival Most Vile series. I completely adored that first book. I gave it 5 stars. Book 2 wasn't as good, but it was still fantastic. And book 3 was less good than book 2, but still pretty good. I'm not sure what it was, but something about book 1 just had this magic to it that really worked for me. Maybe I just read it at the perfect time, but that book had me like giggling and kicking my feet, and it was just perfection. And books 2 and 3, but especially book 3, I just didn't quite have that same spark to it. I still loved the characters, I enjoyed the plot, and the setting is fantastic. It just didn't feel the same as book 1, but still a great time. I love the romance in here, and the found family is by far the best part of it. I am a huge sucker for found family, and this book did in fact make me cry by the end of it, so that was great. I love when a book can make me cry, so definitely a very strong series overall. Just this one book in particular was a little bit less interesting than the other two in terms of the plot. Also gave 4 stars to Oaths of Legacy by Emily Skrutskie. I finally picked this book up. This is the second book in the Bloodright trilogy, which I read the first book about a year and a half ago and just kept not getting around to book 2, but I finally read it and I had a pretty good time with it. Book 1 was definitely better. I liked the plot a lot more, and the character dynamics were just a little bit more interesting for me, but I really enjoyed seeing where the plot went for this one. I thought it was really interesting. I was a little bit bored throughout the first half of it, but the second half pulled me right back in, and I was fully invested by the end of it, so I really can't wait to read the last book in the series, hopefully very soon. Fingers crossed that happens. But yeah, this was a very fun book, and I'm glad that I finally picked it up. And my last 4-star was Noir Moon. I finally found a dark, spicy romance to enjoy. This one was fantastic. This series has 2 main books and 1 prequel novella. I heard about it on Instagram recently. The person was saying that it's like the spiciest thing she's ever read, and I was intrigued. It's a dark romance. That's what I've been trying to find recently. Just wanted to kind of try a new genre, and it was in fact very good. I was going to pick up the first book in the series, but books 1 and 2, the 2 full-length novels, they are 600 pages each, and that was too much of a commitment for me to just try out a genre. So I picked up the prequel novella, which is the prequel to book 2, which explains how the main character of that book met the 3 men that she's in a relationship with. It was only 100 pages, so I figured it was a good way to kind of dip my toes into the genre and see how I feel about it, and I had a great time. Was there any plot to this book aside from the smut? Not really. A little bit. There was some, but it was mostly just smut, but it was very well written, and I really enjoyed the characters, and I'm honestly really interested to see what happens with the plot in the next book. But yeah, I surprisingly had a great time with this, and I'm looking forward to exploring a brand new genre for me. I gave 4.5 stars to The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This was a buddy read that my friend and I did together, and I loved this book. This was a first-time read for me, but a reread for my friend. It's one of their favorite series of all time, and I totally see why. This was so good. It was tense and interesting, and I loved the characters, the friendships, but most of all, the world and the magic is fascinating. I have no idea how to explain what this book is about, but it was good. That's all that I can say is that it was just so good. It was very interesting. This is the revised 10th anniversary edition where the author did make some changes to it from the one that was published first 10 years ago. But yeah, this was a fantastic book, and also the atmosphere was so good. It's set like a little bit in the future, I think in like the year 2060 or so, around there. So it feels a little bit dystopian sci-fi-y, but then the main character is like transported back to Oxford University. And I didn't quite catch if it was actually like a time travel portal thing back to the 1800s or if that area of this world was just left looking like it was from the 1800s. But either way, it was a very dark gothic atmosphere and it was perfection. I really enjoyed it. And there was a sort of magic school element that was present here that was also very good and very well done. And the little bit of a budding romance in here, perfection. So I really can't wait to continue on with this series and see where things go. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next books. I've not looked at the plots for anything, but I can't wait to find out. And finally, my last book of the month and the only 5-star was The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, the third and final book in the Bloodsworn saga. This was incredible. Objectively, it was not a perfect book. There were some things in it that just didn't quite work for me. Mainly in the climax, there were a few things that were just not quite as satisfying as they could have been, but I'm still giving it 5 stars because this book made me sob. I cried so hard multiple times throughout this book, especially in the last like 20% or so. And any book that can make me cry that hard deserves to get 5 stars, even if it wasn't a perfect book. In terms of giving it a review, I can't really say much about it because it's the third and last book in a series, so it would spoil everything. So I'm just going to leave that there, but know that I had an incredible time with this book. It was just so action-packed and interesting. The character relationships were so good and so well done. I loved seeing where everything went, and the payoff of the plot ultimately was fantastic. Not perfect, but still incredible. Now before we go, we're going to do our superlatives. So the best book of the month was obviously The Fury of the Gods, my only 5-star read. The worst book was definitely Teddy Bears Never Die. Biggest surprise I'm going to give to The Bone Season because I really didn't know what to expect from this book, but I really enjoyed it. Biggest disappointment I'm actually going to give to Paladin's Grace. Even though I still liked this book, I didn't love it as much as I hoped that I would. Most memorable I would say is Tourist Season because it's so different from anything else that I've ever read. And now I also want to find more serial killer romances to enjoy. Most forgettable is definitely Defiant. I honestly could not tell you a single thing about that book. Best audiobook I would give to The Fury of the Gods as well. I love this narrator's voice. I think they really did a great job at bringing these characters to life. And finally, prettiest cover has to go to The Bone Season as well. I think this is just a stunning cover. It is beautiful. The spine is great as well. And yeah, it's just beautiful all around. But there we have it. Those are all the books that I read in July. Let me know if you've read any of these books. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. And also let me know what the best and worst book that you read last month was. But in the meantime, thank you as always for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video.